the field, a fantastic choice to try and ban out on a map like Chalet, especially up a team like Oxygen. They like to go for some of those more interesting flanks and, you know, pushes at the mid-round, so always a good thing to try and take away.
Fans are already coming in here. We got Knock and Flores. Interesting ones to start things out. Knock making perfect sense, of course, just due to the increased play we've seen out of her as of late and how useful she can be when she's played. Flores still making perfect sense for this map, of course. We have a lot of very interior rooms that can be hard to access for more direct forms of utility mitigation through nades or any form of launcher. So having those Rotera drones is going to help out tremendously in being able to deal with that and make the overall execute a bit easier. Valkyrie, again, we talked about it in the last patch, but we'll just remind you guys once again, she is still very universally useful, even with the nerfs that have been given to her utility, and very much the same thing can be said to Azami, although of course she hasn't really suffered any nerfs as of yet, but still very universally useful, so is oftentimes a common pick to be banned out.
Is going to leave a lot of things up on the defense. The biggest one being Mira. We don't see a lot of Mira play nowadays. She's still one of the most prominent bans on the defense, so she'll end up slipping through as we are still only on 2 bans for the offense and 2 bans for the defense. So let's jump right in here and see what TSM want to try and set up kitchen and dining like. This is not usually the first site that we see selected. You either have master or downstairs or sometimes even, you know, bar gaming. But this time around, it's actually going to be kind of the off-site. Now, not an off-site in the sense of it's unplayable, but an off-site in the sense of this is probably the lowest selected site that we see on Chalet. So could be a pretty fun one to start us off.
Notice that the win rates for the sites vary quite a bit on a team-to-team basis, though, so it's very stylistic in terms of which teams like to play into which sites, and as well, still with this map only having been in the pool for about a year or so, we're still kind of settling things in that regard.
Yeah, and it's always nice when you're on a map that has such a ripe selection of sites, right? Like you have all 4 sites that are doable. It's something like Cafe, right? Like you can play really whatever you want and find success there. So we'll see if TSM can get the ball rolling here in round 1. Kind of a more aggressive, trappy front that we have that they can try and fall back onto later if some of those more aggressive angles don't work out for them.
Very active lineup, though, from TSM. They definitely want to get in the faces of Oxygen, want to try and push the envelope right from the very first round. They obviously know that Oxygen overall as a team has not looked the strongest right now, and they're very much sort of in, not necessarily like, just for a lack of a better phrase, they're just kind of like reforming talks about how to potentially change up the lineups after they've swapped Sweater into Lexing's role, and that hasn't really worked too well. We're going to have to see if they try to change things up at all. Snake is going to make a big play, and he had a target above him, but is not able to aim towards it, more than likely going for someone else instead. So he's to back away from that quite quickly, though. Bolo is met with success. He's able to find Newers at the very start of this round and strike first for TSM.
And you can see how wild this pacing is already from TSM. Snake is playing smoke, by the way, just to remind you, and he goes for that swing out of the big garage door. And that's going to be Foxay going down. Oxygen are doing their damnedest to try and play some of these windows and hold off these angles that TSM can try and rotate through, but they've caught them time and time again. Sweater will finally be able to pick up one, but he's off on an island. It's going to make it so easy for Merc to slip through and take him down. Luckily enough for Oxygen, they'll stay in the race. Dream will take down Merc inside of Bathroom, but it's only up to him in Vertical, who's still on the Master Repel.
Not a super complicated round so far here as well. Oxygen trying to take that control over towards Solarium, having to contend against quite a few fights in the process, and unfortunately losing out quite a few of those fights as well. So now going to be at a 1-player deficit as we move themselves into the building, to be fair. They have gotten the access they need, but need to push a little bit further past the Solarium now and work themselves deeper into the building here, closer to the sites. I believe the entire top floor has also been cleared out, so they won't have to worry about anything there, but they do not know that yet because they're down to 2. Probably not too heavily on the drones at this point, so they're going to be making sure they still fully clear things out here on the 2nd floor, just to make sure no shenanigans are going to be left to be deployed here.
Well, they know one is over inside of Bar. I believe this is achieved. Yes, it is indeed. They've got a drone around here somewhere that's constantly pinging him. He'll turn on the ERC, some stuns in, and they're going to catch him, but no push just yet. He's going to swing out instead. 40 seconds remain. Achieved is doing a very good job of wasting time, but it's going to be an aggressive swing. He thinks Vertical's falling off the angle, but that gifted Oxygen exactly what they wanted. Dream's going to take some heat, though. He's forced back upstairs and might try and play this out from the hatch.
Coming down to the final 30 seconds here. Snake as well as Gasher down to the 2 new pickups from TSM to clutch the rest of this round out here. Lots more longer standing players on Oxygen. They'll have to close things out for the attackers. 15 seconds, as you can hear the announcer calling it out as well. Snake will take up a very aggressive position here as well inside of the connector. They won't be able to spot him. They'll have to hop forward to be able to catch him, but they knew he went there. Gatcher, though, uses that to be able to bait his teammate, takes him down. Snake will still get finished off by Vert, but Vert needs to plant at some point in the next second here. He'll get it onto the ground, and now, where's the rush from Gatcher? Does he get there in time? Halfway through the plant, another second to go, and just not enough time for Vertical to successfully deploy the diffuser and get himself off of it for the clutch. Round 1 goes to TSM.
I mean, you can already see Oxygen are doing a little bit better with the refrag game than what we did see last week, right? You know, the Chalet a little bit easier to pull off as well, unlike Theme Park, where there's just so much going on each floor, right? It's a very expansive floor. You have to have a lot of map control just at like a bare minimum in order to control a portion of Theme Park. Whereas Chalet, you can practically cut off a portion of the building by sitting on the proper window, right? So it's very well done from Oxygen, at least to try and battle back and keep that round alive from them. But what a play from Gasher there. They're able to trade things out, get that case back down. The positioning from Snake, pretty solid there, but kind of overplayed his hand because of that approach from the inside door. But either way, was building things up for Gasher to have a successful last 10 seconds rather than himself, just trying to get that trade out, and they did that successfully.
Oryx is going to come in, and quite obviously, as you guys have seen it by now, for TSM, so we're going to add a little bit of that roaming capability to the formula for these guys this time around, especially when you consider they're playing into the basement site for round number 2 here. Definitely going to want that mobile capability that Snake will now bring to the table on Oryx.
Really, really interesting stuff, too, because if you remember back in the day, right, this wasn't that long ago, but for TSM inside of Sage 2, right, if you were looking at a position like Oryx, who would it be? It'd be Merc. Right? But if you look at their lineup now, Merc is on smoke. This is something that we usually don't see out of Merc. But, I mean, you could say that across the board for TSM. I think that this is a TSM that we haven't seen since the beginning of the year. If you didn't know, actually, 4 out of the 5 players of TSM at the current moment are inside of the top 10 for the league by rating, which is just absolutely absurd. TSM have been firing on all cylinders throughout Stage 3, and that's with 2 big pickups coming into the mix.
And so they're going to look to, of course, to capitalize on that even further in this game versus Auction. Definitely don't want to be one of the first teams to fall to them, given the start of the season that they have had. TSM will be looking to lock in the full 3 points from this matchup to once more bolster their chances still to go to the next major. Things developing quite slowly on this round, though. About a minute has transpired. No damage done to any party on either team. Actually, I'll correct myself. Dream took like a bullet worth of damage there, so he's sitting just a tad lower. But the real story is going to be here in Solarium, where we've got Bolo lined up for a fight. And meanwhile, yeah, Bolo getting executed in the meanwhile up towards Solarium. Merc as well, caught out by Vert. So a great start to this one for Oxygen, as they obviously dropped those 2 players, and that's on top of the damage that was already done to Achieved as well.
Yeah, it looks like they were trying to hold off for the northern side, and they ended up getting iced out. So very well done from Oxygen. But now they have to try and get past the rest of this roam game from TSM, specifically Snake, who's got a few different pieces of utility around him to try and help himself out. He's got that proximity sensor down low on the fireplace door, so he'll know if anybody pushes in from the double. Ends up bailiffing this out, but it's going to be easy for Fox. The patience game working extremely well for OXG.
Slow and steady, winning the race right now for Oxygen, waiting for the correct opportunity to lock out the more aggressively positioned players on TSM. So far, they've caught them every single time on this round. A much, much cleaner showing from Oxygen. After that first round gave us a little bit of a messier show. Gasser trying to open up some sight lines, going deeper into the dining room, but is not going to be able to find much from it, unfortunately, at this point in the round. Less than a minute to go. Good drone being inserted as well. That's going to lock in the position for Achieved. He's already so low. Cannot take this fight, but he has to. He's the only one down here able to actually force back some of the pressure. Unfortunately, still is going to end up falling. Nice one-tap coming in from Gasser. Tries to go for the 180 onto the second player, but Vertical gets the better of him. Oxygen now trade and lock in the scoreline at 1-1.
Slick, clean team play from Oxygen. They did everything as a unit. It did not make any move that was just outlandish, right? We didn't see Fox get overly aggressive on the top floor. We didn't see Oxygen just trying to throw themselves at site or, you know, try and just eliminate the player on library balcony. It was very decisive, especially with how quickly they were able to pick up those 2 kills onto TSM. Now, I will say I really appreciated TSM donning the mantle and making sure that they could still have some presence on that top floor and see if they could potentially get some big kills. But it really didn't accomplish all that much. Oxygen already got the damage done. They cut the building in half. They go downstairs into trench and they blow open the entire wide side. And not only that, but they also send Vertical on a late rotation down main. There's just so much pressure for these TSM members to try and deal with, and it's too much. The hole breaks and TSM let a round through.
Alright, so TSM indeed letting one through the breach quite early on here. That's going to force some more new changes to come out of them. Interesting operator line going to come from TSM this time as well. We're going to have the Kona stations on Merc to allow for a little bit of fallback in the event that players take damage earlier on in their adventures out across the map. They can return to home base, fuel themselves right back up at those Kona stations, hopefully get back in the fight. That's not the only one as well. The Thorns also come out from Snake. They'll try to capitalize on a few of these players eagerly jumping into areas like the pool room window. Over towards games there. Can Opener is going to be using a quick access to the base, but no one from OXG is immediately going to follow that through with control, though. And we did see one other player from TSM go towards the stairway to try and lock that back out. So TSM is certainly aware of the situation and is looking to counter it once it becomes an issue.
I do believe Sweater got tagged down low, but either way, Oxygen with a game plan right out the gates. I mean, we're only 45 seconds in. We've already got 2 people down low, and they are spearheading their way into this building. EE1D out Snake with a beautiful angle here, but Fox should check this. This balcony is usually a hallmark of the positions across this fireplace area. He doesn't want to try and go for it, and you can't exactly blame him. Be quite the aggressive front, and it's actually going to be vertical to take down Bolo with a single shot heard around the, well, map of Chalet, at least for the time being. That's going to be Bolo off the board. The smoke gone as well.
Starting out swimmingly once again for Oxygen, but it requires a very slow windup to be able to get to that point. As we continue to lead deeper into the round. I haven't seen a whole lot of map control be taken just yet here, but indeed, they're winding up towards it. You can see Merc ready with the Nitro, and he's going to be able to grab both of them. They fail to execute. There's even an incendiary bolt that comes back at him as well. Sweater will be able to catch that at least and unleash a trade onto Merc, but the damage is done in a 2-to-1 trade. It's now evened out the player count into a 3v3. Snake with the lineup to catch the ascent from the basement there, but is not going to be able to fully lock in the frag versus Sweater.
Oh, sweating right now is TSM as bullets are flying around this map, but they still have site control. A nice little play there from Oxygen to try and abuse the stairwell, but Snake will do it all the same, this time through the verticality. It's all down to Dream. The supporting member of Oxygen has to make things work for himself, but it's another Nitro cell in the pockets of TSM. It's sent into bar stock. It'll be sent sky high. TSM get away with the round.
Fitting that it ends how it started there with the Nitro finishing things off. The chaos began, of course, when we saw that double Nitro lineup. OXG, like I had mentioned there too, needing to approach things very slowly, very calculated. Unfortunately, that leaves a window of opportunity open for plays like that Nitro lineup. Beautifully done by the defense. And arguably an even better job done by Snake here on the upstairs hold as well, fending off pressure. Again, we saw him already contending against the attempts to swing up to the basement stairs after that breach had been opened at the beginning of the round, and even past that, was able to open up that stairwell and shut down 2 additional players later on in the round. Excellently done to ensure that the opening strategy from Oxygen was a moot point by the end of the round.
Yeah, that was the big thing right there, right? Shutting down that initial gathering of advances from Oxygen that we see taking Bolo down initially, at least for vertical. So, past that, though, TSM able to bounce back in some pretty convincing ways. You really got to feel for the Lion on the balcony there as well, because that Nitro cell basically appeared out of thin air at the top of that window with that arc. So.
The worst part, too, I mean, we mentioned this, but like that player was literally about to get burned out and probably taken down, too. The second that Nitro blew up, there was an incendiary bolt that exploded in that player's position. Had he not got both of those kills, probably gets traded trying to cross back over into that hatch.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And now TSM the lead because of it. Gonna head back to kitchen as well as dining to see if they can get another round over on Oxygen. This was the first round that they were able to pick up, so looking to do it yet again here. This time around, though, they're going to have the Warden in play.
Slow roll once again for the first 30 seconds or so. Oxygen just want to try and check things on the interior of the building for their drone count, of course. Make sure that they have a good semblance of the type of shenanigans TSM may try to get up to in the first minute, especially after what happened at the start of the last round with that unfortunate double Nitro cell loss here. They do want to double check everything before they try to proceed forward. We are going to see some spray coming in from Merc as he gets a lot of pressure sent out against him. That'll force him deeper into the piano hallway, potentially even further than that towards the bathroom. We'll have to wait and see how much of a stand he wants to put up here. Once again, we are downstairs as well. This is just an extension at the moment from TSM up here.
That's the first minute off of the board. Oxygen, drone spun up. seeing if they can continue to propel themselves through this top angle. End up breaking open piano. Merc's gonna go on the hunt, hasn't found anything, hops outside,
Nice.
Sweater's not aware, and no one's there for the refrag. They don't even try and dawn the piano door. Worried that Merc could potentially have somebody in the wings to help him out even further. And remember, the site's still on the mid floor. They have to try and get into T1 and see if they can try and get something else done. A repeat there from Merc. Newer's not exactly on low HP, but Merc willing to go for the duel.
Another nice Nitro sync here. That's 4 kills from Nitro Cells in the last 2 rounds so far, by the way, folks, just in case you were wondering what that stat line looks like. Beautiful hold here from TSM just on their utility usage alone, but now their guns are about to be tested. Big play from Bolo as he gets both. The snap over to Dream to finish him off after he finds the head of Foxe. Beautifully played out. And it's now left only one standing, Vertical, who is just repel support, so he's really starting from ground zero on this clutch attempt as well. It's a 1v5. He has 0 map control, assumably a pretty weak intel base as well. It's only going to be whatever was preset by his teammates at the beginning of this round. Tough play here, and now he's been revealed once again by the motion detector upstairs. Actually downs that player above him, it's nicely done there, but not going to be able to get any further than that. A flawless round for TSM as that player was technically never fully killed.
A beautiful round from TSM as they create a labyrinth on the top floor of rotations and angles abound that Oxygen constantly have to worry about. You can see them trying to hound Merc on this top floor, but Bolo with the decisive angle swings out and takes them down from the master closet. There's so many different areas that they're trying to worry about all at one time, and TSM are very aware of what the situation's like for Oxygen on that top floor. So great abuse of that and just snowballing it to quite the round there, so it'll take the lead 3-1.
I think overall TSM is just very aware of the general team situation that Oxygen is, where they're not necessarily sure of themselves in a lot of situations right now, and that's leading to this slow play. And now TSM's realized this. They're like, yeah, these guys are like really slow rolling most of their takes, most of their clears, so they're taking huge advantage of that, trying to get right up in their face and just making these constant, unpredictable pushes directly into them that Oxygen are not ready to contend against because they're still thinking of themselves how to proceed forward with the usual strategy.
Yeah, there's definitely some lull moments still for Oxygen, but I'd say, like, overall in handbasket, they're doing a lot better. You can definitely
still an overall improvement. I'm just more remarking on how TSM is looking to abuse the kind of, I guess, a fragile state that Oxygen's in.
Oh,
right
absolutely. Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with you in that regard. This is, and if you're looking at it from TSM's lens, right, that's exactly what you want to be doing. You really want to be putting pressure on those pressure points where you know that Oxygen are going to give. And that's what they found. You know, when you have players like Bolo, players like Gasher that can go for these grandiose swings and not only be successful at it, but take a multitude of people with them, why wouldn't you in the first place?
Exactly the case. So we're going to see the electric ball come out. Indeed, it's going to get the trick. That's 1 out of 2 of the hard breach pieces gone now. Should still be able, actually no, because that was secondary EMP. I don't think that was actually
that was secondary
so
EMP, buddy.
They're out.
Yeah, it's all gone. And the other thing is with those electro claws and the secondary EMP being such a small radius, sometimes you miss the first one, so you have to use the second one. That's what we saw. He impacts the ground, and then he impacts up top to get the first one. But obviously, with that in mind, Merc is allowed to put that other electro claw immediately on the ground when he sees that first impact go out. So very well done from Merc. He doesn't just kill people, John. He also plays utility pretty damn well.
So TSM, once again, off to a good start to things. They've been able to deny the snowmobile access point, an angle that Oxygen clearly would have wanted here, specifically for their post plant more than anything, but it would have helped to establish Overwatch for the plant itself, too.
This absolutely sucks right now for Oxygen. They're not able to get the wall open. Foxay's dead. Vertical's gone. Newer.
Wow.
Goodbye. TSM taking it to Oxygen. They'll remove the best player from stage 2 off the board. TSM looking for their second flawless here if they can muster it.
Sweater on the hunt here as he's moved forward. Has been able to clear things out on the library side, but this is exactly the area that TSM want them to have. Look at this setup. They're baiting him in perfectly for a double player cross as he moves in towards Piano. I think he realizes that was the potential setup, so he smartly backs away from that. He's like, nope, I'm not dying this way. And he's going to try to make it a play downstairs instead on the first floor.
His Spidey senses were tingling. He was like, TSM still has 5 people alive and there's no one peeking?
And I know there's at least one person upstairs.
Wait just a minute. You're trying to trick me, aren't you? Well, Sweater, we are. And, well, we're going to have some more forward peaks out of TSM when it comes to blue. Concussion's out, but Gasher's got a lot of bullets in that Alda, my friend, and he's more than likely going to let this chopper sing. Dream, he's got the swing, and he's down, dusted. Sweater will prevent the flawless, but is he dead to the world now? He will be. Bolo lands the shot. TSM go up by another.
TSM continue to make Oxygen fight for literally every corner of this map they want to take. And again, with Oxygen somewhat in a bit of a delicate state at the moment here, it is not playing well into their strategy of trying to slow roll this, trying to figure out what the strategy looks like and go for a big team execute. It's just not panning out the way they want to, and they need to try and speed things up or find a way to get in the face of TSM to change up the scope of things. They're going to take a pause now to figure things out.
They absolutely should, because that round right there shows a lack of adaptability. They didn't get the wall open, and then they had no idea what to do past that. Foxy gets up on K9, and he's just going to like have Overwatch over the main room, right? Fireplace hall on the balcony. But past that, what's the rest of Oxygen doing, John? Literally nothing. Nobody's trying to get another portion of the map. Nobody's going for map control or anything. They're biding their time, seeing if TSM are going to make a mistake. It's not going to happen. That's been this entire game so far for TSM, is like, okay, how's Oxygen going to act with this situation? What's this scenario look like for us? And once they found their mark where they're like, okay, we're able to get aggressive in these instances and get the big kills that we need on Oxygen in these decisive moments, things have not looked great for Oxygen since that moment. So I really want to see them try and make some adaptations in the mid-round when their initial game plan goes out the window, because that's going to be a big thing for not only right now, because remember, we're past that. We're past the laxing thing. We're past everything. We're on to a new dawn, a new day, and trying to make this team as great with Sweater as we can be. So that's definitely something that they're going to want to try and get on lock before we reach something like SI.
We've got ourselves our community poll questions coming. Who's any more plants, Gasher or Dream? At the moment, the correct answer is a third one. No one, as far as I can tell at the moment. As unfortunately, Oxygen have been struggling to get themselves to the site. Seems like you guys are favoring Gasher, though, so we'll see if that's going to end up being true when TSM get themselves onto the attacking side, which is coming up actually right after this round. The last chance now for Oxygen to make an impact on the attacking side is coming up right here, and it will be against another bar defense from TSM.
Yeah, you know, we've been doing a lot of conversating about the rookies of Doc and Asian, but I don't think we've been speaking enough about Snake and Gasher, because these two have been putting on a show.
They clutched out round 2 solo by themselves.
Yes, indeed. And that's the thing, is like, they almost fit so well that it's like they were always here in the first place. That's the strangest thing about these two when it comes to TSM. And it's already working out again. Look how confident Snake is. I mean, he's walking around like he owns the place. He's already dealt damage to Foxy. Newers, fortunately enough, will finally take him down. So now we'll see how Oxygen want to react with the lead.
It's been good to see the difference between his performance at the Gamers 8 event as well, for Snake this is specifically, and how he's now come into the fold here for the actual NAL Playday. It's been much, much better. It was definitely a little bit questionable when we were seeing things back in Saudi Arabia, but it's ended up playing out much, much better here now. They've had a few more weeks to kind of sink him in, and of course, put Gasher with him
what
as
a
well.
nade.
Nicely done there, as Bolo is going to end up getting dropped at the start of this round, and that'll fall alongside the loss of Snake to Oxygen with a much better idea about how to handle the early round here for this bar attack. You can tell members of TSM want to try and make up the difference, but they are struggling to get anything done. It's such a swinging match right now. Oxygen either shutting down these rounds outright or failing to even get into the building. There's no in between, it feels like.
Yeah, you know what this feels like? It feels like we're almost watching Siege baseball. Oxygen steps up to the plate, TSM swings them, and they're like, all right, here's the pitch, and Oxygen wins the round. It's a home run, flawless. As Oxygen will take that and make it a 4-2 split. But you see exactly what I mean. Look at all the window play coming out from Oxygen in a lot of these different instances.
It's not like TSM necessarily changed anything there. TSM are still playing as aggressively as we've seen in previous rounds. This is finally, again, much like the first round, or I think it was the first round that Oxygen won. They're actually able to capitalize on it this time and properly shut them down. I think it was second round. Thank you for correcting me. But yeah, you know, either way, Oxygen actually able to properly catch that this time, whereas the other 4 rounds just not able to, unfortunately, capitalize on TSM's own aggression there. So a little bit of mixed result, but again, the core message is better than what we've been seeing the past few weeks here from Oxygen, and now they've got a real chance to swing things around as they dictate the play style, they dictate the pacing from this point forward, as of course they're on the defense.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but have you ever tried to put a lion in a cage? It's pretty difficult, I would assume, at least. So that's basically what Oxygen is attempting with TSM, at least when TSM's on defense, right? They're like, okay, listen, I need you to stay inside of this little box over here. Can you do that? Sorry, sir, no, I can't. I'm going to continue to take these gunfights and try and pull some very key pieces of utility away from you. And that's kind of the name of the game that we saw from TSM. Past that, a little bit of timing abuse at certain moments when Oxygen was just kind of being lackadaisical, didn't exactly know what they wanted out of the round going forward, and TSM was able to punish them in that regard as well. So all in all, quite a good hap for TSM. But you can say the same for Oxygen, as John was saying. It's good to see them actually breathing some life.
We're going to see a heavy initial capitalization from Oxygen on the intel game here is we're not only going to get the Maestro, of course, for the Evil Eye cameras when they are forced to play into the site in the dying moments of the round, but Foxy on the pulse too, trying to figure things out for the early round here, see where exactly the push is going to come from. And you can see he's already working on that down below on the first floor, getting the intel for the library clear as he has two other teammates upstairs on the second floor, trying to contend against that and find trades here, if at all possible.
A hallmark character for Foxy, and not only that, but he is indeed the IGL for OXG. Newers, what a shot on the bolo, but Merc, he's there and he's ready. We'll take him down, but that's going to be the Lion off the board, and obviously those Malusis will stick around to slow down TSM's assault.
Definitely OXG getting a more effective trade out of that one. Not even really much of a choice for Newers either. Pretty much was dead regardless, had no real way to safely escape his position, so had to try and take at least one with him, and he succeeds in accomplishing that goal. Vertical going to get caught out of absolutely nowhere, though. Nicely shot out here as he'll be down. Not going to be finished off just yet. We'll see the Twitch drone roll in here, trying to figure out the position of that downed player. They're going to attempt it down. He'll just take an ADS, maybe two with him for Vertical, getting res as a trade for that one. And he'll move in. The Twitch drone will try to finish things off. I don't think it's going to accomplish that goal. They need a little bit more damage to that. So Vertical will be back in the fight.
Well, Vertical and Sweater want to try and stick their guns on the top floor. They have Dream in tow as well. Snake pushing his way up the library hall. All of TSM built upon this area at the current moment. This is going to be the mid-floor, kitchen and dining, and Foxy is going to have a solid read on the situation no matter where TSM want to try and position on this top floor. That cardiac sensor will continue to pay off. He's not using it as of right now, but TSM hasn't gone for anything too bold just yet. Vertical is going to be sitting in behind the boxes on the master bed. This is such a cheeky spot. You actually can't see the head of him when you move in through the door. Oh, back and forth we go. We're going to end up blowing up the wall. Merc will be able to take down one. He's ready for Vert down low, though. That's a triple for him. Sweater picks up one. The Bailiff! Oh, my! Sweater hits him with the drop shot. Must have been playing the beta this weekend or something like that. Gasher and achieved the last two remaining for TSM. Achieved on very, very low HP, and the shoe's on the other foot.
Foxy falling back deeper into the basement here, wants to go for a reposition towards the other side, towards the top of blue stairs instead, more than likely. Meanwhile, TSM have frozen themselves to really try and figure out where exactly these last two players are. For Foxy, they won't really be able to figure that out quite easily. As like we said before, he's gone for a big rotate. Sweater might be a little bit more out in the open, but as you said, perfect positioning for Foxy here. He's got the crunch against the take. Even if it goes well for TSM, I'm almost positive they have not read into this position for Foxy. And here he goes to shut them both down. Beautifully clutched out, beautifully played by Oxygen as they're coming back into it quickly to start the second half.
We were talking about their lack of adaptations on offense, but this defensive side, though, it's looking a little diffy, John. Liking what we're seeing so far. Yeah, Vertical kind of overplays his hand, but fortunately enough, he gets back up. That'll make this trade for Merc possible. And also Sweater with a heck of a play inside of Solarium, embarrassing TSM with the Bailiff and making it to where they're within shooting distance now. They can tie things up with round 8.
Let's see if they're going to be able to fulfill that now. As we go 4-3, still TSM in charge, but quickly losing control over their lead here. They will have to bring things back under their control, or Oxygen is potentially going to take the lead and begin to run away against TSM of all teams. This would certainly be a moral victory. More than anything, if they're able to follow this through and win it, TSM will not be happy about it. So let's see how they can rebound into this now and take control of this next situation for themselves. Time moving to take down, of course, on the prep phase. Not seeing anything earth-shattering here as far as Oxygen's setup is concerned. We are going to see, of course, departure from the Pulse. A lot more useful for that previous site compared to this one. That's for the most part, all our players will be playing in this direct area. Not going to need to expand it too much beyond this, but we are going to see a little bit of it over towards the master side of things as well as the office there, just to try and sustain a little bit extra map control against TSM.
Yeah, and even if you did want to play down low on a site like this, you're usually going to end up getting spotted out, and that's why we're not going to see Oxygen go for it. If you remember, on their offensive side, they immediately went for Snowmobile Garage. It's because of that kind of positioning that Oxygen doesn't really want to risk it. I mean, Pulse is a really, really solid choice, but he's somebody that you want to work in every once in a while, not every single round, because then TSM is going to go witch hunting on the bottom floor, and you're going to have a dead Pulse on your hands. Not exactly a fun thing to try and deal with. So instead, it's going to be Newers down low here, but obviously, he's aware of the situation. Oxygen have already gotten the initial information Oxygen going here for their defensive end, knowing that TSM is clearing in from this far side, working their way to the main parts of the building. Achieved has a nice cut down low. There's nothing to really prevent him from trying to smash in through the snowmobile garage, so TSM seemingly wanting to take their time and slowly walk Oxygen back towards their site.
A lot of wind up for not a lot of action so far in the first half of the round being played out. Now TSM will start to prep themselves to move forward past it. This time will begin to necessitate them getting this extra amount of control. Oxygen, though, remaining nice and composed. Foxy, of course, in the power position right now, having to contend against a lot potentially being thrown at him from TSM. He is eventually going to be forced into a fight, and it seems like he may want to be taking it a bit earlier, and it would have been thrust upon him. Merc still ends up winning it, though. First kill of the round finally goes over to TSM. It took a minute and 30 seconds to get there, but they finally are able to claim it for themselves, and I believe that's most of the upstairs control now falling to them too. Vert, now the only player that's going to be able to change that up.
Well, you got to go for something eventually, but it's going to be a swing and a miss from Foxy. Vertical, he's been droned out up top. There's so much time for TSM to process this as well. There's still frag grenades and Achieved's hands past that. Sweater trying to hold things down at the top of blue. Bolo will finally pick up Newers, but that's on a different end of the map. Vertical's still up top. Remember, Sweater's here on blue, but now Vertical's gone dead to the world as well. TSM, they're quickly, with hastened pace, making their way towards a 5-3 scoreline. Dream doing his damnedest to try and find an angle where he can try and deal some damage to TSM. They've practically taken nothing this entire game. Merc here tries to go for the swing, but no, it's actually going to be Sweater that goes down to Bo. Dream's got a flank, he's got one. He's ready for the blue swing, but nothing coming of it. TSM finally make their way towards site, but it's going to be Merc yet again with the F2 to take down the lone member of Oxygen.
So there we go for TSM, quickly retaking that control back for themselves. Just a slow process of elimination here against Oxygen. No crazy tricks or anything needed to be able to attack the bar site. Just slowly bleed out or pinch out the players on the upstairs hold, and then proceed accordingly down into the actual site. A few curveballs being thrown at them by the downstairs players, but for the most part, again, TSM always having constant control over that scenario.
That exactly is what Oxygen was looking for on the offensive end when they were trying to play very similar pathing to what we saw from TSM. Get on the windows, wait things out, see if somebody wants to try and swing you, and then maybe a lone Fox will try and peek you from a balcony or something like that. And that's exactly what we get. Fox makes a little bit of a blunder there, goes for the swing, the coin flip onto the player playing K9, but Merc is ready for that situation, and he starts things off for TSM. Oxygen only able to muster a single kill in round 8, and that's led into this, where they're going to shift things, throw it across the map, and go up to Master to see if they can get a successful defense.
All right, well, let's see if they can indeed lock in a second defense for themselves, keep things within one round's reach of the tie, or if not, TSM is going to be able to push us up to map and match point here at 6-3 if they're able to win this one. Oxygen, though, they want to throw something over at our players from TSM this time around. You can see Newers lined up here on the second floor, ready to potentially make a play against the swing up that usually comes over here towards this window, but hasn't found that opportunity just yet here. Trying to play it off of sound as well as the timing, but it doesn't seem like anything's going to align for him, especially now that a drone has rolled by and more than likely is somewhat aware of his position around here.
And great situational awareness there from Newers as well. As soon as that single panel window blows open, he throws himself back out on the balcony. And this is exactly where he needs to try and stay. If he can get a kill here as well, that would be gorgeous. But we saw what happened to Foxy the last time here. Some pre-firing going through. Newers is going to back off. More than likely a little worried that there could potentially be some info on him at the current moment. I do believe he saw that shock coming out of the Twitch drone as well, so knows there's more than likely some info game going on around this mid-floor. Oxygen's going to scamper off to the four corners of the earth and see if they can try and delay this TSM offense a little while longer.
Much like the previous round, a lot of build-up, not a whole lot of action just yet. Oxygen want to try and delay this to the site hole so they can properly trade off of each other and so they can bait TSM into the setup, play this the way that they want to play instead of the other way around. Problem is, though, they also attempted to do the same thing on the previous round, and TSM was still able, was given enough time to successfully figure out the setup and counter it. Sweater, in the meanwhile, has been downed, I believe, across from the first floor over into the actual site. It's potentially what enables that to happen, and indeed, that is the case. He's down over here in dining room. Will be revived, though, is the good news, since it is just a sudden peak that manages to grab Sweater and down him. The player from TSM that does the deed is not going to have the confidence to fully follow it through and go for the outright kills. They probably knew the support was there from Foxy. Sweater still in it, but obviously at very low HP now. Nades chucked in. This is going to do some pretty decent damage to Vertical as well as he'll be dropped down to just over 50.
Minute remains for TSM to get in and find a home for this case. Still plenty of drones to fish out any Oxygen members, but it's Newers to fish one of his own first, and it's actually Merc, the top frag of the entire lobby at the current moment. Sweater with a nice angle and that EBR in hand, so more than likely some kills coming his way very soon. Still have some smokes in the pocket of Dream as well. In fact, all of them minus the one that he just tossed. Still has two there. Bolo will be able to take down one. It's immediately traded. TSM, they're not trying to go for the full bore play just yet, trading things down. Snake looking for the pulse down low, and he'll find it. That's a dead Foxay. So now Oxygen will have to be worried about both ends of the field all at the same time. But can TSM find a place to actually try and extend this round?
Tense moment here as TSM, seemingly ready to make the play, is going to lose a player initially on the peak here. They built it all up. They don't have enough prowess seemingly though to get themselves into the actual site. Snake now alone in the 1v2. Oxygen are giving him nothing. He's got to take it all and he won't be able to grab it. Dream finishes off those last two kills, and Oxygen continue to hold on as they was able to make it work, of course, on round number 8, just through the slow process of eliminating these players out. But for the last round, things became way too troublesome. And as we saw at the time, forced to run out. Never really able to line up the true execute they wanted to work themselves towards. So looking to make that up here on round number 10 now, as we will have that downstairs holding kitchen for Oxygen to play into.
All right, well, TSM looking to push themselves onto that penultimate point. Looking to try and build this up and take it in regulation. Now, honestly, I didn't think that we'd see Oxygen make it past this moment. I thought that at max we'd get a 7-4, so anything past this is obviously boding quite well for OXG, especially with how the stage has started off. So I definitely say that they're getting their confidence back.
Definitely looking like it's the case here, and once again the strategies are coming into the fold as well. The team looking a lot better than we had seen over the past few weeks here, as they're able to contend against one of the best in the league right now. And once again, they do so right from the beginning of the matchup here. Nicely found from Foxay, catching the opening roam from Bolo just to get himself lined up to make his initial entry into the building. Shuts that down outright and denies all three of the Nomad charges that would have been very useful for countering out later flanks against the downstairs push as well.
Well, Snake is going to find himself some succulent information on the ground that Inox working out for him and finding those toes. So now Oxygen will have to worry about someone hammering that home. He's going to use his second scan there to find somebody else up top, and this also confirms what op they are running, so that helps TSM in that regard as well to know what utility is on the field. Foxy's back on the pulse, so this top push here for TSM will more than likely be known, especially if he's doing his job properly. Merc will try and work his way forward. A single shot will be sent his way, but it won't catch his knees. So TSM looking to see if they could potentially get some assistance with this top clear here, and honestly, they may need it. Newers and Sweaters on the receiving end of this one, so TSM looking to try and get a resurgence of players up top before they go for anything too drastic.
Sweater certainly with the confidence to take these fights, but none have actually been thrust upon him as of yet. There we go, though. Merc leaping into it. Gasher, too. Sweater keeping up with the transfers the entire time, just not able to actually lock in a frag against one of them. TSM still going to capitalize on the confusion, though, to get out one of the Ash charges to deal with the deployable shield there, hopefully negating out any additional pressure from Oxygen in that particular angle.
Foxy trying to get the kill onto Achieve to the floor as well. That cardiac sensor worth its weight in gold this round, as he's been able to dictate everything from downstairs for Oxygen. They're playing this to a T and looking to tie things up. Achieve shifts over to the master window. He's got a gunfight. He's got a dead vertical. It's 4-4. Oh, this timer still favorable for both ends, but TSM have got to work this quickly. This is where all of that adaptability is really going to come in handy. But unfortunately enough for them, Achieve will be blown sky high by a nitro cell. TSM, it's looking more and more worrisome for them. Trying to get their head wrapped around this building. They're on two completely opposite ends of the earth. Trying to see if they can get any foothold on this site. Oxygen still trying to see where TSM's working their way in from as well. Cardiac sensor out, and it's going to be a dead Fox. They even knew Merc was there. Merc almost with two, but the flick doesn't work out. Sweater to go down. Snake's going to drop in. It's a 2 versus 2. It's a 2 versus 1. Oh, no. It's a 1 versus 1. Oh my God, Dream! Oxygen lock him out. It's 5-5 here on Chalet.
Snake had Dream within an arm's reach, but couldn't close his fist. So close for the play players on TSM, but Oxygen, and more importantly, Dream, is able to shut things down, keep the hopes alive for the green and black roster at home here. Just 2 more rounds is all they need now to secure things and potentially steal a full 3 points right out of the hands of TSM. Very much in the cards with the way the past few rounds have trended. Even worse for TSM, they've already used their attack pause. They're not going to be able to get themselves out of this to figure out what's going wrong anymore. Any adjustments they discussed in the previous pause, like 2 rounds back, that's all they can rely on now, going into the final 2 rounds of regulation.
Now, this has been the stage for Dream, let me tell you. He's always been a fantastic option for Oxygen, but this stage, he's really stepped up to the plate in a lot of different regards, and we see it right here. The fragging power comes to light at a moment where they need him most. They'll tie things up against TSM. But not only that, pretty sure we've already gotten our tack timeout used by TSM, if I remember correctly. So this could get to be quite worrisome here in a moment.
Let's wait and see here now as TSM bringing a new fold into this lineup here. Still going to be relying pretty heavily on the Dokkaebi for Bolo here, and no Sweater with the lineup against Bolo. Nearly negates out what would have been the phone calls, of course. Can't find the full lineup, though. That gun just goes a little bit too wild after the first few bullets at that type of range, so unable to secure that opening kill, but certainly going to put the fear into TSM to some extent. Now after that kill has gone through, Snake in position seems to be the one consistent factor, even with TSM struggling here. Snake saves the day, trades it back down into a 4v4.
Well, a 4-4. Both of these teams,
Nice
I thought
Gasher.
we were going to have a quiet look there, but Sweater, he wants even more. Gasher will take him down, and then hits him with a question mark. I mean, hey, Gasher, you got to gamble every once in a while. You know, if you weren't looking at the window, then Sweater totally kills you. But unfortunately, it goes the other way, and Gasher gets another frag, making this a little bit easier for TSM to try and work with these last 2 minutes.
Oxygen having to retreat down into the basement now with no other real choice, unfortunately. Outnumbered, not a lot of positioning to play into. Vertical is going to go on a little adventure in the meanwhile, though. He's been able to proceed up through the front stair. I think he's going to try to wrap his way over in through the dining room, see if there's going to be any potential late round flank he could work his way towards, especially if TSM will try to play around the blue stairs or, of course, the metal stairs to work their way down into the basement itself. Drones are moving in that direction as well. You can see Oxygen having set up on the main stairs to counter that out specifically. There is no EMP, so no way to get the opening done over by the snowmobile garage. They could technically try to throw frags in there, but again, that's going to be gambling on the magnets not eating those up, especially when we consider that we're already down to the minute and 20-second marker. We'll have to wait and see if TSM can actually get this thing open here, as it's only the Thermite standing outside right now. Like I said, just not going to be workable. We do see as well a cross finally being established. Vertical going to potentially have the opportunity to activate himself here. Not going to find it immediately, though. Bolo strikes true against Dream, is able to find him on his quest up the stairs. Foxay now preoccupied. He moves forward, though. Catches Snake, takes him down. A second player with the case as Gasher is eliminated. That's the entire outside force. He doesn't necessarily think so, though, but he should be able to analyze this when he realizes that that's the Thermite he took down here. So we'll realize there's no additional threat coming from the snowmobile side.
The logic bombs went through. It's down to Bo and Achieved. 2 frag grenades unachieved, 2 smokes on Bo. He's still got a drone as well, but it seems to be occupying the flank at the moment. 30 seconds. They're going to try an entry. One of the mags is going to eat up a smoke. He'll get the second one in. A beautiful nade from Achieved will take down Foxay. Then he'll the other one's in blue. A nade out, but luckily for Vertical, he's got a mag there. It'll go off. He goes for the swing. The case in. It's starting to get planted inside
angle.
the smoke. Achieved has it. He'll shut down Vertical, who tries to just walk into snowmobile garage. Doesn't work out for him. Immediately gunned down as he should be. And TSM will maintain the lead.
TSM just barely preserving their lead. Now only by 1 round, Oxygen have a real opportunity here to swing us into overtime if they're trading this one back and be able to activate things. Steal away at least that 1 point for themselves. Finally get themselves on the board for the season here. And start to see where exactly they can push themselves. As we talked about, folks, in last week's games, for the most part, Oxygen's chances of actually going to the major pretty much dead in the water. I think it's like less than a 1% chance now that they have at this point. So not really playing for that, but they can still play to improve their overall game. And of course, play spoiler to quite a few other teams here, as we're seeing against TSM right now.
Absolutely. You know, and I think this is the perfect time to say this, because I don't know if we're going to have another round where it's going to fit in quite as well. But for Oxygen, you're doing great, boys. Just continue. Keep going, keep pushing. Everyone is looking like like they're starting to be themselves again, especially for Foxay. He's making some plays here. He's having his moments, and that's a lot to do with one person, right? Foxay is now the IGL. There's so many things to be worrying about all at the same time, and then you're trying to make these big plays that could be game changers. It's just quite a bit of stress. I mean, even past that, Sweater having a heck of a game, and you could say that really across the board, each one of these players having that highlight moment. So definitely great to see Oxygen just getting some fresh gusts under their wings. So see if it continues on, if they can stay in this hot air and continue to float through stage 3 on this line of improvement. But for TSM, they're looking to take this in max regulation, 7-5. About 30 seconds in here to our potentially last round. TSM building things up like they normally do. The only thing working its way in that's a little abnormal has got to be the Thatcher here on Merc.
Real slow roller once again from TSM. They've been forced into that playstyle just because Oxygen has been too unpredictable in the opening moments of the round here. Unless they have an area of the map outright empty, like we're kind of seeing here on the inside of the library. It's somewhat surprising, I imagine, the players on TSM, considering the amount of utility that's committed to this. So they might want to check it one or two more times with the drone. And indeed, they are going to go back onto the drone just to do one little circle here and make sure they don't have anyone else standing in their way so they can commit themselves to the inside of this. Newers ready for the challenge up here on top of Ego. At the same time, expecting the player to be physically on the balcony, not on rappel, so has to back away from that. Over to it.
Oh my
God! Hitting one of the craziest flicks I've ever seen. Now TSM still have to find a way to trade him back out. What are they going to do from this point forward? Snake won't even know what hit him right there. Newers, though, realizes that enough is enough. Tries to escape, but unfortunately can't get out of there. Merc is able to catch him for the front door.
The gods themselves, Ares, just coming down and blessing the MX4 Storm there. A weapon of war, rips Snakes to shreds as soon as he peeks through the library. What a shot from Newers, but it doesn't go past that moment. It's a 4-4 right now. TSM, they still have to try and get into sight past that shock and awe play that we just saw out of Newers. The first bullet hip-fired out of that MX4 Storm hits him right in between the eyes. I cannot believe what I just witnessed.
Newers is on the comms. They're like, guys, I better get my cost for this round. Oh no, the plant, but he's not actually going to hit it. He's hitting the top of the thermite charge. Gave him the warning bell, and now Gasher, with the wall open back up, he's going to be able to swing around, go into the site, start the plant as well. It's falling to pieces for Oxygen, and that excellent shot from Newers may be a moot point at the end of the day. Dream now alone, but he's got that clutch ability as well. One kill's gone his way, but he's lost a lot of health here in the process of picking up that kill. Tries to spam in down below as well, opening up another angle, but as he rocks back over, it's to the SMG-11, where he'll take away half of the HP from Achieve. Dream now trying to move in. He wants the shotgun fight, but TSM are smart about this. They're not giving it to him. They're extending it as long as they need to shut down and win the game. As it does fall to TSM when everything is said and done, but I think it took a heck of a lot longer than everyone at home thought it was going to be.
Well, TSM, they're the fire, as Newers is the spark. He activates the team, and they take control.